Hello, this is Chris Minnick with Webucator. In this video, I'm going to show you how to initialize a class in Node. This video was inspired by a blog post by Bill Patrianikos, which is available at the URL shown here. Have you ever used a Node.js module that was instantiated using the something equals new something method? You've likely seen it with built-in types like date, but how can you make use of this with your own Node modules, and why would you want to? To understand what's going on, you need to understand object prototypes in JavaScript. Every JavaScript object has a prototype. By default, every object has a set of properties set by its prototype. The date object is an example of this. Calling newDate creates a new instance of date with properties inherited from its prototype, but others that are set by the values you pass to it. If you pass a date string to date, then the new instance of date will be different from another instance you called by passing in another date string. If you change a property of date, it'll only be set for that specific instance. But if you change or add a property to the date object's prototype, then all instances of date will inherit those properties. By utilizing the prototypes of objects, you can create new instances of objects that inherit the object prototype's properties, but also have their own direct properties set on them for that single instance. One example of when this is useful is if you create an API library that needs to be set with an API token and you want to reuse that object without having to pass in your API credentials every time, or you want to have the ability to create multiple API clients using different credentials. Here's a real-world example. This simple example of using an object's prototype demonstrates how an object can have properties owned by that instance of the object and those that are inherited from its prototype. The myObject function takes your API key as an argument and will set it internally. The Initialize function is responsible for setting that property for each instance of the object. Initialize gets called every time you call a new instance of myObject. This is how you can have multiple instances of myObject, each with their own credentials. Here's how you would make use of this in an application. So the next time you need to create a Node library that behaves similarly to what you get in object-oriented languages like Ruby, you can use this technique. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks again to Bill for the inspiration. Check out his blog at the URL shown here for other articles related to software development.